Welcome to the 2016 Mid-Season Spotlight. Normally, we save enormous meta-changing updates for the preseason, but this year we're shaking things up. Our big goal for 2016 is to make every game of League feel unique, so we're putting on a halftime show to introduce big changes to mages, items, and the river's most monstrous inhabitants. It's time for some mid-season magic. Let's start by checking in on our old pal Dragon, who's gone from elementary to elemental. He now embodies one of 4 elements when he spawns, each of which grant permanent stacking buffs to the team that takes him down. Fire dragons give you extra spicy damage against champions. Water dragons yield juicy health and mana regen. Earth dragons let you quickly take down epic monsters and turrets. And air dragons turbocharge your out-of-combat move speed. These stacks become even more important in the late game when the elemental dragons flee the rift and the elder dragon appears. Slaying this big bad daddy dragon temporarily amplifies all the existing dragon buffs you've acquired and applies powerful burn effects to your attacks and abilities. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, our bug-eyed buddy, the Rift Herald, is also looking a little different these days. The big purple critter now spawns only once per game, but packs one hell of a buff inside that tough little shell. Crack open the Rift Herald and pick up the buff to become corrupted, granting extra dueling power whenever you're away from your allies. Best of all, the Herald's buff is clingier than your average barnacle and sticks around even through death. It also lasts a long time. Over a dozen spellslingers are getting some touch-ups in the mid-season update, but we're giving 6 wizardly warriors a serious makeover. Malzahar is still the single-target lockdown master, but now he's figured out how to bring extra void puppies along for the ride. Voidling Swarm, his new W, spawns his little purple pals, which multiply as they fight and start to frenzy once there's enough of them. We're also gifting Malzahar with a new damage-reducing passive, so the Prophet of the Void can occasionally ignore big playmakers and slip right past the enemy front line. Vladimir is the slippery blood mage with insane lane sustain, and we're escalating his ability to leverage his health bar to lay down the herd. Tides of Blood can now be charged up to form a massive sphere of AoE sangre sauce that he'll then hurl at opponents. This ability uses up a serious chunk of Vlad's available health, so he'll have to heal up between bloody onslaughts with his newly tuned transfusion. Zyra is the control mage with the greenest thumb in League, and her new passive lets her spread even more flora across the rift. Garden of Thorns causes seeds to periodically sprout around her, and casting spells, like her newly fertilized Deadly Spines, produces an army of deadly plants to surprise attackers. Brand's mid-season changes are about cranking up his ability to set the world on fire. Brand's passive, Blaze, now causes a massive area of effect detonation whenever he lands 3 spells on the same target. When enemies huddle together for safety, it's time for the Burning Vengeance to light them up and set off a chain reaction. When the enemy team is fleet of foot, Cassiopeia is the serpent with a solution. The Venomous Vixen's W, Miasma, now applies an entirely new type of debuff that we're calling Grounded. Enemies who are grounded are unable to flash, dash, or even take Thresh's Lantern. Cass's new passive grants her movement speed per level, but this doesn't stack with boots. In fact, she's not even allowed to buy boots in the shop. She can't wear them. How is she going to put them on? Vel'Koz is the tentacle geometrist to call when you need long-range magic damage. In addition to deconstructing enemies, the Eye of the Void's basic abilities now apply stacks of research to his opponents. This upgrades his life-form disintegration ray to deal 100% grade A Void-approved true damage to all research targets. It's not just the mages who are getting a magical mid-season transformation. As with the marksman itemization changes earlier this year, we're altering AP items to augment how you contribute to the fight. We've loaded some extra ammunition into the Hextech revolver, so it deals bonus magic damage and upgrades into a trio of endgame items. The new Hextech Frost Cannon slows swift-footed killers with a spray of icy shards, while the Hextech Rocket Belt lets you dash forward and hose them down with flaming bolts. To complete the set, our old friend the Hextech Gunblade has a tweaked active effect that blasts baddies with instant damage. We're also making changes to familiar tools like Tear, Chalice, and Catalyst to alter the way champs utilize their mana pool. We'll save the full item breakdowns for the patch notes, but the idea is that high uptime utility champions will lean more heavily on mana regen, while heavy damage dealers will want to build a big stockpile of flat mana. This is just a high-level overview, and we'll need your feedback to help keep us headed in the right direction. Check out the 6.9 patch notes for a more complete list of the mid-season changes.